Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me today, a very special guest, former two-time Deep South World Heavyweight Champion, former NXT World Tag Team Champion. You may know him as Konnor of the Ascension, but he is Big Con. Big Con, welcome to the two-man power trip. How you doing?
Hey, thank you for having me, sir. Appreciate it, man.
So what's going on in your world? What have you been up to?
Man, so for me, I've just been doing the old coaching thing, man. I've been down here in sunny Tampa, Florida, coaching. Me, Jay Lethal, David Mercury. We just brought on Sumi Sakai and Evan Bourne, which is awesome. So we've been building a brand that we truly believe in. On top of that, just running around doing shows here and there, signings, getting ready to start doing my first seminar here pretty soon, and being an at-home father and husband, which has been, really awesome.
Very cool. And what is the training school with Jay Lethal and the guys? What school is it?
It's called the Wrestling Lab, and it's based in Pinellas Park, which is generally it's primarily in St. Petersburg, Florida. So there we train beginners, advanced. We've got a 4-month beginners course, and yeah, it's we're growing. We're looking possibly for another building, more rings. We've got over 70 students, so it's been pretty damn amazing, to be honest with you.
Pretty cool. I didn't realize that there was other training schools out there with obviously big names and good names associated with it. So that's
Yeah.
good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I've been blessed and very fortunate to I guess quote unquote fall into this.
How did you fall into it?
Well, truth be told, my wife, who I met in the business, she wanted to train and get ready for WOW, and there was a school that she was familiar with, Jay Lethal, and we ended up going there. At the time, it was called Tampa Bay Pro. And just one of them days, I was just talking about how much I've always wanted to give back to the kids in this business. And I think him and another gentleman by the name of David Mercury overheard that. And, they said, "Hey, you want to partner up?" And I was like, really? I was like, because they were going to give me the opportunity just to train on their off days and have my own little thing going. But I was like, man, they're great guys, and it was like, what a hell of an opportunity. And just the three of us, like, we just clicked, and it's growing, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. And yeah, it's been neat to be a part of that. It really has.
Do you have a lot of students?
Yeah, we've got we have over 70 plus. I can't, for me to sit there and to count it's going to be ridiculous. But we just started doing private training sessions. We've got a couple guys. One of them's signed by AEW right now, primarily being trained, which we won't drop no names. But there's another gentleman who plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who's a former offensive tackle for them that we're priming him for. And just recently, I've had 2 ladies drop onto my plate to get them ready for WOW. So it's been, I never thought anything like this would happen, to be honest. In my life, I was like, nah, I don't know what the hell to expect, but I never would have thought something like this would kind of unfold. And it's just, I look forward to it. It's a lot of fun.
That's pretty cool though. Like, just to be able to do that and train some guys and then see them make it. I mean, you've made it, but it's cool to see who you've trained make it, like little proteges, if you will.
Yeah, but they obviously want them to be the best that they can be for themselves. And it's so much more than just coaching too, because I've had to call my own coach, because you're not just going to be talking about wrestling. I thought that's all you were going to do, is just go in there and show them how to wrestle. And now you're taking on personal experiences, things that are going on in their life, if they need help or if they need someone to talk to. It's like you're kind of a counselor too. And it's challenging, but it's really neat to watch these kids grow and come into themselves.
Now, I always talk to Dr. Tom and do a show with him. Obviously, you know Dr. Tom pretty well. He
Yeah.
says, like, when the guys succeed, it just makes his resume look even better. He's kind of joking, but he is kind of serious too. Because, you know, when The Rock succeeds or Kurt Angle succeeds, it's like, oh, trained by Dr. Tom. You know what I mean? He gives himself a little pat on the back there.
Yeah. But Dr. Tom is awesome. You know, I saw him not too long ago, and he was actually one of the guys I went up to, and I was like, Doc, you know, I really need some advice. And the first thing he did was he handed me his book. He said, anything and everything you need will be in this book. And so I've kept it with me everywhere I've gone. I've just been fortunate to have a lot of good people and mentors in my life. Dr. Tom was one of those guys for me specifically, since we've mentioned his name, who, you know, at every point in my life that I needed to talk to somebody, and he was able to grab the pieces, put them back together, and build me back up, especially, you know, with self-confidence and being unsure. He's such a great guy. And as you know, like, you know him, he's hard to come by. Hard to come by this.
Big time. Guys like him are few and far between. He's funny because people are like, oh, Dr. Tom, I don't, you know, maybe I don't remember him, or Heavenly Bodies, but if you really look at it, I mean, he's trained some great guys, and his knowledge of wrestling is bar none one of the best.
Yeah. Are you with me still?
Yep. Still with me? Yep.
Okay. Sorry. You paused on me. So, you know, Dr. Tom, you know, when it comes to training, like you were saying, like, he trained some of the greatest people that have drew some of the biggest money in this business. And you know, you could look at him like that, but for me, I've always looked at Dr. Tom, not only is it just a great human being, but like, I was able to talk to him about personal things in my life other than just wrestling. And that's one of the things I've always appreciated about Dr. Tom. Is it, you know, if he wants to let you in on a personal level, he will. And he's given, you know, some pretty damn good advice. You know, if he really likes you. If he doesn't like you, well, it's, you know, it's not going to be good for most people. So,
right. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
When did you first meet him? I guess it would be Florida Championship Wrestling, somewhere in the mid 2000s. That's when you first met him?
No, I first met him in. So I don't know if a lot of people knew about Dr. Tom, but when he got shut down, and Dr. Tom got the position, and he came in McDonough, Georgia, and he ended up taking that role. And that was the first time I had met Dr. Tom. And, you know, at first, anytime you want to go through change, there's always going to be like that wall that comes up. You're just like defensive, and you're unsure. And am I going to like this guy? Am I not going to like this guy? And just as time went on, like, I mean, it didn't take that long. He really, really grew onto me. And, you know, looking back at it, being a bit older now, it's like, you know, it's just, you want to just look at him in so many ways and just say thank you for just taking the time to acknowledge me as a fucking human being, you know,
Yep.
And not as a wrestler. And he's just such a down to earth coach, down to earth guy. I was lucky to have him, and I wish, and I hope everybody gets an opportunity to go to his school, to do his seminars, because there's so much knowledge in that man's brain.
With you, when you get in and you're Deep South, or, you know, FCW, are you thinking WWE your whole time? Like, you're in developmental, quote unquote, but are you thinking of like yourself and getting better and your current state? Or are you thinking, oh, I got to make it WWE? Are you kind of thinking past where you're at?
Man, that's a major rewind. First off, I probably wasn't thinking that if I had to go back to that time, because I was probably thinking about where was I going to go party that night, to be honest with you.
Oh, or that, yeah.
Yeah, I I like to get out every now and then. But, you know, for me, I never really sat back, and I never, like, if I saw a guy surpass me or bypass me, whatever, jealousy never got in, it never got to me. I wasn't always like, what the hell, why is he going up there and I'm not? I always knew that as time progressed, and even if you work hard, no matter how hard you work, you're going to get your opportunity. Hopefully, hopefully. but you just have to make sure that you're ready when it does. So I never doubted myself. I never was worried about anything. I just kind of rolled with the punches.
How do you get like recruited in? Like, how do you get noticed when you
Right.
get developmental? Like, who signs you? How do they, how do they find you?
Right. So my story, I always tell students, because today is so much different now. For me, it was right place, right time, knowing the right people. There was I was pretty easy to get along with. I like to think I still am. But I trained at a gentleman by the name of Rusty Brooks, who passed away down in South Florida, and that was where I started at. I ended up meeting Angel Orsini, who was up in the Northeast area, and she knew Tommy Dreamer at the time. Tommy Dreamer was in the office, who was looking for people, signing people. He was basically talent relations at that point. And I told, I asked Angel one day. I said, "Hey, do you think it's worth a shot to send a tape in,
Right.
and just see what happens?" And she goes, "Absolutely, I think it would be great." She goes, "Let me get Tommy's information, and I'll let you know." Honestly, I didn't think anything was going to happen. I just figured it was worth a shot just to see. And she made the connection. She told me where to send the tape. I sent it into Stanford. And I want to say about 2 weeks later, they brought me in. It was in Fort Lauderdale, they brought me in to get a look at me, and that's where I met Johnny Ace. And then a couple months later, they put a contract in front of me. So I only trained on the Indies I was on the Indies for maybe 4 years. So I was really lucky. I was very lucky when or how I found my way in. But it's up to me at that point to make sure that I stayed in.
Do you think that you're like the guy that they're looking for? They say Vince is like the body guy. Like, obviously, you're bigger than the normal wrestler, especially nowadays. Forget about it. You'd be maybe one of the biggest guys. But do you think like you're like the prototypical, like this is what Vince and Johnny Ace, like this is what they're looking for, just as far as size wise?
Well, back then, it wasn't a lot of small guys, right? I was considered the average guy. I was 240, 6'5". And now I was 25 years old. So it's what they look for the transition before they started hiring, bring more guys. Now they're back to kind of in where they're looking for the. So it's a really hard to say, because to me, when I look at things like this, I always think business. Can I make money off of you? Do you have something that you can bring to the table where I know that you're going to get viewerships? And that's what that boils down to. Whether it's a big guy or small guy, can you make my company?
Very true. So when they do sign you and they do bring in, you said it was Deep South first. You go down there. Were you there for Deep South when I know you're there? You're two-time champion, so you're there for a little bit of time. But were you there when they closed the
Yeah,
doors on Deep South?
yeah. I overstayed my welcome in developmental period. um, but yeah, I
How
was
so?
there. I was the original. I was one of the originals. There's 15 of us that started, Miz being one of them. And then what ended up happening was they shut those doors. John Laurinaitis wanted to move it down to the Florida area where he lived so that he could have hands on it more. And then that's kind of how that evolved. And then, of course, FCW turned it into NXT Performance Center. So I went through that whole damn thing. It was
What
wild.
do you think about that? Like, what do you think about that? Because look at the performance centers, like this NFL facility,
Yeah,
WCW power
yeah,
plant, like
yeah,
on steroids, whatever you want to say. I mean, it's just
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you used to train next to like the grocery store or in the
yeah,
baseball place, or what I mean. Like
yeah,
you went through
yeah.
some rough times there.
I don't know if it was rough times. You were still making paychecks. It was
Mhm.
interesting times, and you know, I laugh because I remember when I got into Deep South, I was thinking to myself, "Man, how does it get any better than this? This is great," you know. And then you see FCW, and you're like, "Man, there's no way it gets better than this." and then you see the NXT Performance Center, and you're like, okay, there's no way it's getting better than this.
Right. Do you think it's
Um,
a spoiling you guys a little bit though? You know, that performance center is pretty damn nice.
it is nice, and I think that's great. I think it's, if I could go back in time, I would say I wish I had that place. And that's just me being honest about it. I think the PC is a great place. They've got doctors on staff, they've got therapists, they just have everything that you could possibly need. They had the performance now, every tool that I can guarantee any wrestler wishes they had to succeed. So if they don't succeed and get out of there, um, it's kind of hard to believe it. There's so much there that plays in your benefits. And
Sorry about that. Lost you for a second.
was that me, or was I'm so confused right now?
I don't know. You froze and everything froze, and then it booted you. So I'm not
Oh,
sure.
I don't know. Jeez, man. I hope it's not me. I apologize if
Oh, no
so.
problem. Well, you were
Yeah.
saying like it was not really spoiling the
Right.
performance center.
Yeah, no. And this is just my personal feelings. I don't think that it's spoiling the kids. I think it's giving these athletes or professional wrestlers or entertainers, whatever you want to call them. I think it's given them more tools to succeed. I really do. They've got doctors on staff. They've got physical therapists that are there. Things that I can guarantee you, we all wish that we had. I mean, I got a taste of it. You know what I mean? Because I was the PC for just a little bit, but I think it favors them. I don't think it spoils them. I hope that they all use it to their benefit, because there's a lot of knowledge in that building as well.
Do you think that, just the way you came up, it's like a good thing, like go through the indies, learn, then hit developmental, like slowly learn? Or do you think getting right into the performance center where it's almost cookie cutter ish, because you're not used to traveling, you're not, you know what I mean? Like, how do you think about like the way you got in versus the way maybe like somebody today got in where they just go right to the performance center?
Well, I think, so a lot of the guys I believe now, if I'm not mistaken, that are coming in are former athletes, right? And that's
Yep.
the understanding that I'm getting. So to think that it's cookie cutter, I don't believe that, because what those guys had to go through just to become successful in, say, football or professional baseball, like those guys are those guys I'm sure had a struggle too, just like a basic wrestler like myself had to, but just in our own different ways, and that's just my opinion. So I think I'm not going to get too deep, but I think everybody struggles in their own way before they get there. And I think, it's just a matter of using the tools that are there to benefit you and to help you succeed.
Do you think that it's not better, but do you think that you become more well-rounded as a wrestler if like you're kind of going in that direction where you've wrestled kind of everywhere, you're learning the ropes, not paying your dues, so to speak, but you're coming up, you're traveling, you're working on the
Right.
road constantly, hotels. Do you think that, I
Right.
don't know, does that do anything? Does that make you better? Does that kind of give you a more insight into the business?
Well, I don't want to say, it's hard to say because, like, again, if we're comparing it to what I think that they're doing now, a lot of athletes travel and they live in hotels. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And wrestlers, that's all we've done too. It's almost like, to become an athlete, it's like the performance center is made for that also, for that transition to become a former athlete into a professional wrestler. I think that also, if you are, say, an independent wrestler and you're getting the opportunity to go in there, you're gonna be more well-rounded, because you have just as much opportunity as, say, the professional athlete does. So I think it's a win-win for everybody, to be honest with you. And that's not being political or anything. That's reality. That the PC was specifically set up to make success happen for the stars that are there. And hopefully those guys take advantage of that.
A lot of people say, and even guys within the company have said, like, if you're from the indie scene or something, you have some bad habits that you bring to NXT or the performance center, they get rid of those. Do you believe in that? Like, WWE's going to get rid of your quote unquote bad habits, or they'll bring you in and they'll teach you their way? Is that like a good way of looking at things?
Well, so I think any job you go to, right, they all are going to have their ways of doing things. Like, I mean, we're all smart. Like, you see AEW and the way
Mm-hmm.
they do stuff. You see the way WWE does stuff. Um, but it works. That's the thing. It works on all platforms. You know, everybody. It's just here's an opportunity. We give you the stage. Make the best of it. That's all you can do. And so, I bad habits. Everybody's got bad habits, right? Like, we've all had bad habits at one point in our life. I'm sure you've had bad habits. I've had bad
Oh, yeah.
habits.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, and I think that's a learning process. It's a matter of, that's how you learn. You mold yourself into being better, no matter what it is, whether it's wrestling or it's your 9 to 5. You just make yourself better. That's all up to the individual themselves.
With you as you're coming along, when they do that, pre NXT, when it's the NXT TV show, like
Right,
the season 4, season 5, you're
right,
with Del Rio, you're with Kozlov. What did you
right.
think just in general about that show? Because I know a lot of the fans are not particularly high on that show, just because, yeah, they have you doing some wrestling stuff, but then it's I don't know, it's a little goofy at times. Like, what did you think about your experience on that show?
Um, I thought it was cool, to be honest with you,
Yeah,
because
okay.
first off, I never was even looked at until that point. Right? They knew I was in developmental. That was really my first time ever coming up on the WWE stage. And I've had some incredible pros with Del Rio. Um, Vladimir, I mean, he's awesome. you know, just them guys in general were great. They were great to me. That the backstage, like the back, was awesome. You just never knew what you never knew what the competition was going to be. So you're always on edge a little bit. But I mean, it's show business, and you're going to always be on edge because you don't really, anything can turn in a hat. Like, you got 10 minutes. Next thing you know, you got 5 minutes because somebody went over on time or whatever it may be. So you just got to be able to adjust.
Did you think, like, okay, that's a good showcase? Not necessarily, like you mentioned, like, not necessarily like, okay, the show's great, but like it's a great showcase that people are actually going to see. Obviously, Vince is going to see, and whoever else that needs to see, they're going to see what you could do on TV.
Right. Um, it got me there. It got me looked at. That's the thing. Like, for me specifically, like, I got there because of that show. Um, and it helped me be able to learn how everything was done, as far as camera angles, working certain things. Ideally, you always want the big, oh my gosh, here he comes, and pyros, but you look at some of the guys that were on that show, and they've done pretty well for themselves. Especially the pros, like like, for instance, um, you know, I don't know what the ratings were. I'm not really sure, but like, all the pros that were there were, hey, if you got any questions, ask me. We're here to help, whatever it may be. So everybody was really super freaking cool, man.
So like Del Rio would actually give you advice, not just as a pro, but like behind the scenes. He'd tell you drop you some knowledge.
Well, oh yeah, of course. Like camera angles, like you work 1 to 3, like you know what I mean. Like there was a certain way that he worked, which worked great for him. Promos, if there were promos, I would walk up and ask him, like, what do you think, And he was like, good. Now make it like your way that you would do it, And then of course working with Ricardo, I love Ricardo. Like he's close to the family, and he's fun. I mean, he was fun to work with, So I know some of the fans didn't really care for the whole angles and whatever, but a lot of those guys got looked at because of it. So it changed some people's lives, which is what you want to do. Like you're not there to be in and out. You want to be there to, at least leave an impression, make some money, and I guess be able to walk.
Yeah.
You
One
know.
thing one thing I've noticed, not like it's a WWE versus AEW thing or a WWE versus Indies thing, but I noticed if guys are from WWE or they're in WWE, they know how to work the cameras. I even noticed at the pay-per-view from AEW, like they kind of didn't know where the cameras were, which I was shocked at, and some of the angles, and they weren't working or playing to the cameras. I thought it's like, wow, it's almost like WWE 101. They make sure it's TV. You're focusing in on the million people watching, not necessarily the thousands of people in the arena, right?
Well, no, you've got to learn to cater to both.
Okay.
You've got to, because think about it, right? Like you want the crowd reaction for TV purposes,
Right.
right? And they're very important because they work hard just to buy a ticket there, and you've got the father there who's God. Nowadays it's kind of scary to see with inflation and everything like that. The son wants a Coke, the son wants a T-shirt, so it's just a lot of families that are there that you want to cater to, that you want to make a part of, and the viewers at home, you need viewerships too. You want to knock ratings up. That's one of the big things is ratings. It's got to be that top show. You want everybody to be happy too.
When you get into the actual NXT, the league,
Yeah.
is it like is it immediate that they're creating the Ascension in the group? Not you and Victor, but you and Ricardo and Raquel.
Right.
Like, was that immediate? Like when they're like, okay, we got to create the Ascension. Was that created from FCW? Like, where did that kind of come from? What was the genesis of the Ascension?
Well, so me and Ricardo, we laugh about it to this day. That was actually Ricardo's vision. I don't know if a lot of people knew that, but that was Ricardo's vision for the whole thing. It was NXT season 5. I got voted off, and I came in, and they said they had already him being Bill DeMott and Dusty Rhodes. They've already had a vision of where they wanted to place me, and I said okay. And Ricardo, explained everything to me and said, hey, this is the idea. It's the 5 chakras. We got the 5 people. So it's supposed to be very, very light, very positive, all that, the elements and all that stuff. And I thought it was okay. I liked the idea of working with the other 4 because I just liked them as people. But I didn't understand how this was going to, I guess, manifest itself, I guess is the word. So anyways, one day Ricardo was at TV out in California, and he said, I texted him. I said, hey, it's promo day today with Dream. What do we do? And he said, just talk about the Ascension and what it means to you. And so then I put out the text to everybody in the group, and I said, hey, Ricardo said, let's talk about the Ascension and what it means to us. And I said, let's all dress up. We all wear black because it's very business appropriate. And I just thought elegance, whatever. And at the time, True Blood was very popular. And we got in there. We positioned ourselves the way that we wanted to position ourselves. And we all said our one-liners. And Dream pulled us in. And we went in there. And he's like, what do you see? Honestly, I was like, I see 5 people in black outfits. And he goes, no. He goes, no, baby, I see vampires. And I don't watch a lot of TV. That's the thing. And I told, he's like, hang on one second, baby. And he called everybody in that was in that promo. And he goes, what do you all see right here? And nobody knew what to say. And Dream explained to us that, hey, you all look like vampires. And like that show True Blood. And then from there, it just kind of evolved into itself. And then, everybody started kind of moving away and doing their own thing, and eventually left me and Tom Latimer as a team. And then eventually it became me and Rick Victor, and that took on its own element. And then we went to the main roster. That took on its own element. So there were so many variations of it, which much like my developmental career, just variations. So by that point, I was so used to it. But I was like, man, when you look back at it now, you appreciate it, because, you come off NXT season 5, you're a little upset. Nobody likes to get voted off of things. And, then you come into this, you're not sure which direction it's going to go. And then it turns into what it turned into in NXT. And I believe to this day, we still hold the record, which is insane to me. And then, of course, it evolved into its own thing when we went to the main roster. So, evolution. It's just everything just constantly changes.
Got to rewind for a second, though. What's it like with Dusty Rhodes? What's the relationship like with Dusty? Because I always hear these promo classes. That's great, though. He can just pick it out and be like, I'm envisioning vampires. You know what I mean? Like, that's so cool.
He was fucking amazing. I absolutely love him. Everything I do when I think about him, I have taken everything he's taught us in my mind that I love to give in promo classes, or when I talk to kids about character development now. He was a huge inspiration on the success that we had in the first Black and Gold NXT, him and Hunter. And of course, Bill DeMott. They had a huge part of our success and why we did so well. Always be grateful. Always.
When you look at it, is it a lot of nerves, though? I mean, promo class with might be the greatest promo guy ever, saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, giving you guys orders, or even just listening to you guys.
No, never orders. That's the one thing I will say, is that Dream always lets you be yourself. He was very big into trying new things, seeing if it worked. And he would give you input, and he would help you. Like, even when I did the Rat character, and the NXT version that you were talking about, Dream, and it never aired, and I wish it did, but Dream ended up grabbing that character because he understood and knew what I seen. It was supposed to be very Joker-esque / the Rat character. But he saw it and he understood, because, he's a visionary. He was always a visionary. And I think that's what was so great about him. And he knew how to speak to people too. Like, he could, if you didn't understand it, he would help you understand it. He was patient. He loved giving his time and making the business so much better, and just giving back to people that cared.
Seems like that would be a pressure-packed situation, though. It's like, oh my God, Dusty Rhodes is doing the promo class,
Yeah, no. He always had a way of inviting you and making you feel comfortable. He never ever made me feel like that, and he was easy to talk to if you needed to talk to him. He always made himself accessible. If you needed to go in and talk to him about some ideas or a pitch, or what do you think, or whatever it may be, he was an exceptional human being to have. And it really stinks in so many ways that we lost him. He so much knowledge, and just such a great entertainer too, right? We can go back and watch his stuff forever. Yep. Like, it's amazing. He was so good.
I was actually so fortunate and lucky 2 days before he had passed, I had able to interview him, and I was talking to him. They were doing this Hall of Fame in Tampa, so I was able to talk to him.
Yeah,
And he doesn't really know me, but I'm like, I'm just some Mark. He goes, "You're a wrestling historian, baby. Don't
yeah,
say Mark." And I was like, "Oh, okay, all right." But it was really cool. Like, but he makes you feel like you
yeah,
know him. Like he's like, "Hey, Johnny," instead of John. He just makes you feel like he knew you. And as soon as I hear he passed, like, oh my god, because he's talking about doing more interviews, and he sounded great. So it was like, oh, just a shame, such a shame.
yeah. So the dream that you got was the dream that we all knew. He made you feel welcome, and it was
Yeah.
never, ever, ever made you feel nerve wracking or anything. If anything, you made yourself feel nervous. He would never
Right.
make you feel like that.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's funny. It's like he doesn't know me for a hole in the wall, but he acted like we were like old buds. It's funny.
Yeah, he's awesome.
So when you and Rick Victor get put together, who is putting you guys together, making you guys just the look that we saw in NXT?
Right. So that was brought on by Triple H. Triple H wanted to put the package together. Norman Smiley thought that it was a great thing, and it was, and it worked great. And even to this day, him and I, like when we work together, like it's just like we never lose a beat. Where we can look at each other, we know what we're thinking. We don't have to always talk to each other, but we know what we're thinking. Um, yeah, that was Hunter's vision, and it worked. I don't know how to explain it. He was perfect for the part too because of the look he had, right? Like he had like that very vampire looking, and not to mention, I know I'm pretty sure you interviewed him, and he's a pretty badass technician. He's a great worker.
Yeah, just had him on not that long ago. Yeah,
Yeah, he's a damn good worker.
yeah.
He covered up a lot of my flaws.
But that's a perfect compliment, right, for a tag team like Brett and Anvil. I mean, it's kind of perfect when you have like that combination.
Yeah, and I think too, what makes it so good is that he's just as he's a great human being too. Very chill, very relaxed. But then when it's go time, he knows how to turn it up.
I thought it was a great combination because you're the big guy, you're the powerhouse. He's not small at all, but still smaller, but a great worker. Yeah, I like the combination when the two guys aren't exactly the same. What I mean? It's like peanut butter and jelly. It goes better together when they're not exactly the same guy.
Boy, peanut butter and jelly back when I was 340, that was amazing.
Oh yeah, you were pretty big, yeah. And it's funny, he's not small at all, but he looked real small compared to you.
A lot of people,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I was pretty heavy. I got up to about 340, and it wasn't the best weight. Even I knew that. It's like, man, I got to change something in my life. This is getting rough.
Gotcha. When you guys are put together, do they say Legion of Doom, Road Wars? Do they say that at all? Because so many people get
No.
that vibe from the Ascension.
So when this happened, when this comparison started, this is right at the end of our NXT run, I believe, before we're about to get called up to the main roster. And I remember Dream telling us it's very important that you guys explain to yourselves that there can only be one LOD, there can only be one Demolition, there can only be one Powers of Pain, and there can only be one Ascension. It's very important that you guys talk about that because you don't ever want to emulate another team. You really don't. Like, you want to be your own person or
Right.
your own team. And when going back, you look at the NXT version, you could see we were doing our own thing. You could see that's who we were. The people, that's why people bought into it. They knew that was who we were. And then, the comparison, it was a tough pill to swallow because we specifically never wanted to ever be compared to anybody, and, I and Vic, I don't know if he talked to you about this or not, but we had the opportunity to speak with Animal um, in person together. And we talked to him and kind of, explained that we were sorry that we hope that there was no ill will towards us because of that. And he understood, like, and I think the best part about that was talking to him man to man, face to face about it. And that was really important to us. And then, of course, we talked to Demolition, and I talked to Powers of Pain, because I know the Warlord, pretty well. And so we felt like we had to do that out of the respect to those men, because those are men that paved the way, that allowed us to feed our families. And that was very important to us. So, that might be a thumbnail for you, but
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of the things that we took upon ourselves to do once we were done, was that we're like, we've got to talk to these men if we can, and clear the air, at least just to make sure. And they probably didn't give a damn, to be honest with you, but it was the right thing to do. At least from a man's perspective, the way I look at it, like, that was the right thing to do.
Did anybody, like Warlord or Animal, did they say, "Oh, you're copying off us," or are they like pro you guys, saying, "Do your thing, we love it," like stuff like that, positive stuff?
Yeah. So they understood. They all understood, which was nice to hear. That was very important for us to do that. And I think they knew, because nobody wants to be kind of put in a situation where you feel like you're mimicking somebody to a T. And there you are. Did I get you?
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay, you can hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. You're saying you didn't want
Okay, good.
you don't want
All right.
to imitate anybody, basically. Yeah. So with that, the Ascension
Right.
becomes, you guys become dominant, like in NXT when you guys win the tag titles. You guys are dominant. I
Right.
think it was Neville and Graves or something. But once you guys get going, they bring in Too Cool that back. You guys beat them. Baylor and Atami, who were the two big names, obviously. And you guys beat. I mean, what did you think about the run? Because you guys are going to be, I think it's 200 plus days as tag champs. What did you think about just the dominant run of you guys of the Ascension?
Yeah. I was grateful. I mean, how can you not be, right? You're grateful. The fans liked it. It was when you're in these moments, like, you don't think about it, because you just get so caught up to that, and then the next day it's like, okay, let's just move on to the next day. But looking back at it now, like, you're appreciative of all those moments that you had to be in the ring with, like, say, Too Cool. My God, like, how cool is that? Like, legit, not even trying to be funny about it, but like to be in the ring with two guys that weren't just great fucking dudes, but I think they were one of the best at what they did. They were absolute professionals. And they were fun to watch. It was fun to work them. I'm grateful for that. We also, at the time, we wrestled the Wolves too. Davey Richards and
Eddie Edwards.
thank you, Eddie Edwards. And I mean, like, my God, like, to be able to work those guys, like, it was, on top of all these other people that we got to work, it was just so much fun. And then, of course, we go to the main roster, and you work guys like Billy Gunn and Road Dogg. Like, you get to be in the ring with all these legends. Like, it's really cool to look back at it.
Did you think, though, like when you guys are tag champs at NXT, like you think everything is going along good? Are you thinking about getting called up, or are you just thinking about NXT?
Well, I think at that point it was just kind of day to day. We were told when we were going to go up, so of course you're excited. But when you're around the business for so long, you get excited, but you don't get too overexcited, if that makes sense. And it's just one of those things where we weren't thinking about. I mean, we knew we wanted to go to the main roster, but it was never like, oh my gosh, we've got to hurry up and get there. We've got to, we're trying to I guess, embrace everything the best we can. We went to the PC. It wasn't like it was tough for us at the time. We were just getting ready with Terry Taylor. Um, you do your drills and stuff like that, which was super cool. And then you go hit the ice tub, especially me. I'd go bang out that ice tub because, my rickety body needed it. So,
Yep. Do you think like, okay, we're going to get ready for the call up? And they give you the date and everything like that?
yeah.
Does it go down the way it's supposed to? Like, meaning, like, is it actual the day you're supposed to go up? Yeah, like everything works out according to plan, or does it get shooken up a bit?
Well, so I think, gosh, Vic is so much better at this stuff than I am when it comes to remembering things. Um, we knew. So what I will say is that we knew what we had to go up as. We saw the layout, the creative department came up with this whole concept of the look and everything like that. And and it was like, this is it. We're getting out of here. I can't believe it. I got cobwebs, on my locker right now, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, yeah.
For a while, you're like, did they forget about us?
It seems like, I don't know, like nothing. Not that it doesn't go according to plan, but it seems like there's always some like bumps in the road. Like crazy things happen in the business.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. Like that's life, right? Like
Yep.
everybody says this is the way it's going to go, and then sometimes you're going to hit some bumps, some speed bumps. Sometimes you'll hit a wall, but you just got to keep on going.
Who called you up, Johnny Ace?
No, we actually had a meeting in Stanford. We did a meeting from Stanford to the PC, and it was Hunter. Hunter was the one that made the call with a lady by the name of Jane Geddes and Canyon Seaman. And it really, for me, it was one of the happiest days of my life because I had been in developmental for so long that you almost never thought you'd ever make it.
Yeah.
So, you could sense like, yes, this is happening.
With that and the call up, they have the vignette. They show like some vignettes of you guys. Did you
Right.
debut the way you wanted to as far as the look? Because it seemed like a little bit of a different variation than NXT.
I mean, here's the deal, right? If you don't want to do it, they're going to find two other people that are going to want to do it.
Yep.
Yep. And again, this kind of goes back to what we talked about. Not everything's going to go according to plan. Cards subject to change.
Yes.
There's always bumps in the road, and that's okay. You just adapt, and you run with it. Because I'm sure there are two other people that would love to have taken that spot if we didn't. And with where we were in our career, it was a make or break, right? Like, we were older. It was like, hey, you're either in this or we're probably gonna have to get rid of you.
Right.
That's kind of that's the feeling. That was never said, but that's the feeling.
So they bring you up. Did you think like, oh man, like this isn't the Hunter vision, like the Triple H vision of us? Like they changed us a little bit, which always seems to happen with Vince. Even Karrion Kross recently, he was way different on the main roster than he was. Even Tommaso Ciampa, even when he goes from NXT and he's on Raw the next night and flip flop whatever, he's different. Is that just the Vince thing? Does he just get like, I wanted to change it in his vision? Like, why is it changed?
Well, it's his company.
But it seemed to work though in NXT. You know what I mean? Like, would you want to change something that was working?
Well, I personally don't believe you should change anything, right? Because, and this is just, my personal opinion. I mean, why break something or why fix something that's not broken? But it's such a different time too, because you've got Neville too, for instance. They had a whole different vision with Neville, if you remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah,
he's another guy. Yep.
They wanted to put a cape on him and make him a superhero, and so not everything's going to go according to plan, but we wouldn't be having this conversation, you and I, had we not have been the quote unquote knockoffs or whatever.
Right.
You know? And that's just being real. Like, I look at things in a realistic manner. Like, I'm not bitter. I'm not upset. I'm actually grateful, to be honest with you.
Do you think though that okay, you're there, you guys are dominant in NXT, Triple H has like the perfect tag team, Vince, here you go, and then it's like okay, you beat the Outlaws, you're going good, but then it's like you lose to
Right.
primetime players, and you're it's like you're not kind of hitting where Triple H or even us as fans that were loving the Ascension, like you didn't hit
Right.
where we thought you would. Does that bother you at all? It's like, man, we should have done more in WWE because I don't. Nothing was missing
Yeah.
from you guys. Like it wasn't the talent's fault. I don't think.
Well, so here's what I'm learning when I do indie shows now. And now we get to be able to talk to fans and we get to be able to hear their perspective on things. And already hearing you talk about it tells me that you appreciated what we did.
Yeah.
And so for me, as a performer / wrestler, whatever, like to be able to hear that from the fans, I don't think there's nothing that needs to be said about that, because the fans reiterating everything is really the thing that makes me go, you get it, you understand. And that means so much to me, because, anybody that gets let go in a job, like, you're never going to feel good. Nobody does. I don't care what they say. It's a horrible feeling. You don't want anybody to experience it, but it's part of life. It's what we do. And it happens to everybody every day. A 9-to-5 job does the same thing. So you can sit there and let it eat you alive, or you just keep on moving, But the best thing that I've learned so far, being around and talking with people, is hearing that the fans know. And it's so appreciative to hear that. Like, they know and they get it. And hearing you say that acknowledges it to me already, that you totally understand.
And I think that was the great time of NXT when you guys were tag team, because it seemed like everything was rolling nicely. You guys were great in the tag division. Everything was good. Then you get on the main roster. It's like, okay, here we go. Let's see what Vince is going to do with these guys. And then it's like, okay, start Strong beating the legendary Outlaws. And it's like, I don't know, you move across and it's just like, he's just not doing anything with you guys. And you're changing the look and changing a little bit and maybe more face paint, or I don't know. It didn't jive to me what the Ascension really was. It's almost like he changed it for the worse, for my personal opinion. I just thought that you guys had so much more potential. So then when they do like Cosmic Wasteland with Cody Rhodes, it's like, okay, all right, here's something.
Cool, right?
Yeah, it's like, okay, here's something. They're going to do something with it, and then no.
That was fun. We had a lot of fun doing that. I hope when you interviewed Vic, you talked about that, because we had a blast doing that. Like, that was a lot of fun. And then of course, I'm waiting to hear about when we worked with Breezango.
What did you think? What do you like? Cosmic Wasteland was cool, and Vic said it too. Like, they should have been much more. You guys had so much potential. Obviously, we all know what Cody can do, even though he's playing Stardust. We know he's got so much more potential of use. But it's like, oh, okay, they're going to do then nothing, and then all of a sudden they're doing that jokey thing with Breezango. Like, what did you feel about that?
Well, so that's a great question, because at first when we did it, we were like, well, boys, this ship's going to sink real fast. Especially when you brought us on, right? And we're like, sorry guys, we're really gonna sink this ship for you. And it ended up turning out to be the absolute opposite. And what was so nice about that was that we got to be able to do what we wanted to do. There wasn't a lot of restrictions on us, or there wasn't a lot of no, you can't do this, or yes, you can do this. It was, hey, have at it. This is the basis that we're going to talk about, and let's see what happens. And the next thing you know, I'm pouring syrup on a log, which I have no damn idea why I was doing it, and then come to find out, that it was a big deal, the whole scene that we shot, and it got picked up. We couldn't leave it. And it turned into a big deal. Like, that probably was the most fun we've had, because, we're showing the audience a different side of us too. It's not like we just have to be big and tough and mean, but we can, we can actually, it's cool. We can laugh at ourselves, man. It's all right. I could put a stupid Hulk Hogan looking mustache on my face just to get a pop.
Right.
Like I didn't care. Like we were just having a good time. I wore little ties, just to make the audience laugh. I didn't care. So, it was nice to be able to do that and show the fans another side of us.
It is cool, like to think like, okay, we could do something character based and just have fun. Like it almost like don't care, throw caution to the wind kind of thing.
Right. Well, then that's what you did, right? And
Yeah.
then, you just saw what stuck, what didn't stick, and we got lucky, and it worked out in our favor. So it was fun. It was fun while it lasted.
Were you surprised by the release?
No, and anybody that says they are, you kind of have a tendency to know. You've got a feeling. It doesn't just come out of nowhere when you get released. I want to say for a while there, we weren't even on the road, and but they were still paying us, which they didn't have to do. That's another thing. They didn't have to do that, and then it was about 9 months later, 10 months later, they were like, okay, guys, listen, we've basically got nothing for you. And listen, like you're prepared. Like, it's like, just listen, is it going to happen or isn't it going to happen? Because at this point, we're just kind of like, hey, are you going to fire us or are you going to put us on the road? Just let us know. We're ready to do either or at this point. So, yeah, for the most part, most people that get let go, there's a general feeling that they know something's up.
So as we hit the wind down, we head towards the finish here.
Uh-oh.
What is next for you? Like, what's next? The Awakening going to be doing some more teaming together? You and Victor, the school. What's next?
Yeah. So, I'm now currently taking bookings, and any promoter can hit me at my email, at Ryan Parmenter at Rocket Mail, or they can hit me on my, in my social media, big_con1, look for the verifications. So I'm still taking bookings now. I've been kind of sitting back, holding back on that. My focus has been with the school. The school's about to get up and running even more so now, especially bringing on Evan Bourne and Sumi Sakai, me, Jay Lethal, and David Mercury. Like, the school is doing excellent. And I get to be a dad. And that's been the best part of my life so far, is the fact that I get to be in tune with my son. Because I never had a father.
Wow.
My father left me when I was 2. And one of those things that blow my mind is that I don't understand how a father can leave a child, of course, obviously, unless, they pass. But I get to be in the moments with my son. That's been the biggest thing for me. And I take him to shows with me when I can, which is so cool because he's a super wrestling fan now, which I love. He's not a Redskin fan. Or what is it? The
Commanders.
Commanders. Where apparently we spend our 3rd round farm just to get Carson Wentz.
Yes. Yeah. Not good. How old is your son, by the way?
He's 4.
Oh, so he's getting into it. Yeah.
Yes, he is. Yes, and Mama's watching him right now. So, but man, he's the best. Oh man, John, I could one of the best moments of my life was about a month ago, I ended up getting hacked, and they ended up breaking into my crypto, and they stole all my money that was in my crypto. I cannot get it back. So I'm out.
Wow.
A lot of money. So I'm sitting there on my couch, and I'm just so depressed. I'm like, man, I can't believe this. Why? How could I do this? I just lost a good chunk of change. And my son sits right up next to me, and he's never said this before. And he goes, Dad. And I go, what's up, Bubba? And he goes, you're my best friend.
Very
and
nice.
I was like,
very cute. Yeah.
I was like, wow. Like that I needed to hear that.
Yeah, everything what rushes away. Yeah.
Gone.
Yep.
Do you have children?
Yes. 6-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's so awesome.
They're both crazy. They're both nuts.
Yeah, they
But in a
are.
good way. In a good way.
I was going to say, but in a good way. It keeps us
Yep.
young-ish.
Yep. And hey, life is always unpredictable. With them, you never know what's going to happen. Yeah, you
Yeah.
wake up 6 a.m. You never know what the day may bring. Yeah.
That's the truth.
So as far as you, I also noticed. I knew you've wrestled them before, but it's funny. I saw FTR's posting that they want to do tag matches and stuff. I was immediately thinking rematch FTR, revival, if you will, against the Ascension, the Awakening would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. That'd be a lot of fun too. They're both. I mean, they're standout guys. Obviously, they're pros at what they do. They will be acknowledged for, in my mind, wrestling eternity. And they're both really good, genuine dudes too.
Do you have like guys you want to wrestle? And some people say dream matches. I guess some people
Right.
don't, but they're
No.
guys you want to wrestle. Is there guys you want to wrestle?
Yeah. So, we just, Vic and I just hit one on our bucket list. We got to wrestle Rock and Roll Express.
Oh, awesome. That's right. I saw that. That's awesome.
Yes. And that right there. I'm like, man, this is amazing. And see what a lot of people don't know, that Robert Gibson was my coach in Deep South Wrestling. He was there. He was a coach.
Wow.
And not a lot of people knew that about him. So, and I never, ever got in a ring with him other than practice. So to actually be in a ring, to share a moment on his farewell tour and to let him know how much I love him in front of the people. And thank you to him and Ricky for everything they've done, because they have paved the way for tag team wrestling. And if it wasn't for those two, I wouldn't have probably been able to feed my family. And so I will always be grateful for those two men. But Rock and Roll, I know Vic wanted us to work the Briscoes. There was for me, a guy I've never been in the ring with that I'd love to get in the ring with. I got to work Rhino, which is amazing, who I love. He's been part of the rejuvenation of my career, if you will.
Yep.
I would love to work Tommy Dreamer. Believe it or not, I would love to work Tommy. One, he was the guy that found me. And two, he loves the business so much. And it would be nice to be able to show my appreciation, to be in the ring with him. Win or lose, it doesn't matter. I'd bump my ass off for that guy if I had to. I wouldn't care. That's just how highly I think of him for helping me have the life that honestly, John, I couldn't have had.
Love it. Before we let you go, where can everybody find you again? I know you mentioned it briefly before, but where can everybody find your social media and even the Wrestling Lab? Where can everybody find you?
Yeah. So big_con1, look for the verification. I'm accepting bookings right now. Also go to all lowercase, the _wrestling_lab. If you have any interest whatsoever to be trained by the five of us as coaches. You can also reach us at 727-826-0497. Just call. And we're there. We'll get back to you. It's not a big deal.
All right. Awesome stuff from the Big Cow. Thank you so much for all the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.